literally in the last 10 minutes, New York City has shown me why doing a podcast in New York City, if you live in the wrong fucking place, is truly a fucking epic ordeal. First, I got people above fucking, which is great. I'm happy people are fucking. More people should fuck. And maybe I would ask everyone in the vicinity, like, I want a soundtrack of people fucking while I'm doing a podcast. I guess I'll sleep on it. I'll think about it. And then I got somebody who's a terrible trumpet player blowing into the trumpet, which they've been doing for 3 years. That's epic. Hilariously, somebody moved in down the hallway who also plays the trumpet, and they're terrible. I walked past a group of people. I guess it wasn't a group. It was just an apartment. So that's funny. A building. And I heard somebody few doors down playing the trumpet, and they're terrible. So apparently in Brooklyn, I have a symphony of terrible trumpet players, which is really fascinating. And I'm all for people expressing themselves through music. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, find a hobby. But people have to suffer your hobby too. Just remember that. So now I'm just trying to find light and not feel so washed out. Man. Alright, so the Joyner reckoning. What is that? I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to find out together. Slowly at first, as about 20 or 30 people watch the first couple, which is great. I'll take 20 or 30 people. Perhaps through time it could be 20 to 30 million, but you got to start somewhere. And I accept, and I'm grateful even for 20 or 30 people to take time out of their busy schedule to listen to me talk. God bless you all. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I was thinking about a lot of things, because one has to think to start articulating what the hell they're thinking. And I guess the first thing that came to mind was just about me, little old me. I was thinking about growing up. When I was growing up, I was a shy kid. I was a really shy kid. Like, I was a timid, butterflies and stomach aches anytime I had to talk to anyone in front of a class or just in class. I was a fucking basket case of anxiety. What I've come to learn through time is I was a sensitive kid. I'm a sensitive man, but not from the standpoint of I'm going to cry every 10 minutes, though that's debatable. More has to do with I feel energy. I feel people's emotions. So I guess I'm empathic. And in being empathic when you're a little kid, if you're anxious and 5 other kids are anxious, you're anxious times 5 because you're feeling everybody. But there's no way to articulate that when you're little. You just go through it. How I got through that, how I coped with that was, lucky for me, I was a super athlete. I played sports. I played a lot of soccer. I played a little bit of football. I spent my youth dominating recess. And that was fun. I had plenty of friends finally, because everyone wants to be on the team of the kid that dominates recess. So that was, and if anything, all that energy that I accumulated through time, I ran off. I literally outran all the crazy energy that was trying to bother me and upset me. So in some way, I was ahead of the curve of the crazy, weird anxiety world we live in today. Speaking of, that'll get people going. If you're wondering what that is, that's a fucking earthquake. I live on a fault line. I'm used to it. You may not be, so if you're hearing it, it's a fucking earthquake. And if you hear it again at some point, just know it's New York City's fault. That's how it is. So, obviously when I moved in, I didn't hear that, but we carry on. It's life challenges. Stupid, but moving isn't always as easy as it should be. Anyway, so that takes me to right here, right now. When I was growing up, it kind of freaked me out. I was freaked out that life and encounters and circumstances just made me a basket of anxiety. Nobody wants to be a basket of anxiety. I had enough good things going for me that I didn't necessarily see it as absolutely detrimental. I wasn't crippled by it. I wasn't on medication. I wasn't talking to someone. But quietly, I was kind of freaking out. So I knew through time, I'm going to have to address this. I'm going to have to work this out. I'm going to have to face my fears. And there are a myriad of ways that I did that. Whether it be first jobs that I had, where I worked at a pizza joint at one point, and I had to answer the phones because people want fucking pizza. and they need it delivered. You got to answer the fucking phones. And initially, I was mortified by that. Absolutely fucking mortified. I remember the people I worked with were just like, fuck this guy, he doesn't ever answer the phones. And I remember my oldest brother was the GM, so nepotism, I got a pizza job because of my older brother. But he was basically saying, like, you need to answer the phones or I'm going to fire you. And he was just like, all right, let's do some pretend little exercise where he's like, ring, 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 I'll call and I'll be the customer and you pick up the phone. And I was like, no, man, I'll just worry about it when they call. And he was just like, ring, ring, I'll fire you. So, I did a little play exercise with my brother, and that helped me work that shit out. And through time, talking on the phone in that setting wasn't so hard. And hilariously, as that became easier at work, it just became easier in general, talking on the phone. I only bring that up now, and I've talked about this in other fucking, instances where, people are terrified of the fucking phone. They've kind of given up on the phone. Another earthquake. Of course, this is the time of day. I don't know, it looks like we're going to probably be doing this tonight. I'd like to think that I can do it right now. Maybe this is entertaining. Maybe this is fucking entertaining. It's not usually this bad. And if it is, I'm not usually recording right now. But you know what? You deal with the cards you're dealt. Anyway, so not just that. I wound up working at a movie theater at one point. Same fucking thing. I worked box office. And once upon a time, in the early aughts, I think this was summer 2003, people weren't always on the internet, obviously smartphones weren't a thing yet, so they would call ahead to a theater to ask about times, to ask perhaps directions to the theater, or to ask what certain movies were about. So it was my job at the box office to answer all those questions. And I did, and I got used to that, and it was okay. And then the next summer after that, I continued to work at a pizza shop again, my brother's again, in a different location. This time I was delivering pizzas, but I had to answer the phones all the time. When I wasn't out of the store delivering pizzas, I answered phones and talked to all kinds of random fucking weird people. I had some old guy call me at one point, and he was just like, hey, I need a Italian sub. And I'm like, all right, well, give me your phone number. And he's just like, what? And I'm like, well, where are you? And he's like, I'm right here. And I'm like, no, fucker, not where. I'm like, I need your phone number. He's like, you've come here before. And I'm like, that's great that I've come here before, but I can't get any further in the conversation right now if you don't give me a phone number so your information will come up in our computer. And the old man, now this is an old man in 2003, all right? This is long before smartphones and everything else we deal with today. So you gotta be extra patient. And I was extra patient. And he told me his name was Albert. He was an old man. He lived in some retirement community. And then I was the guy who delivered the sub to Albert. And, sweet old confused motherfucker. But he got what he needed, whatever. But that's what I mean, just moments like that. So yeah, that's a think on the fly moment. It's easy enough to be like, okay, these are the steps. You give me your phone number, and then your information comes up, and then I ask for your order. You give it to me, and then I take it to you. But like anything else, sometimes people are confused, and sometimes people are confusing. So, but that, once again, really good life experience. Good life experience. What I'm getting, actually, you know what? I'll go even further, all right? I also acted a lot in school. I acted in theater. I often starred in the plays that I was in, so I was pretty fucking good. And I took that to New York City and went to a Broadway training school. And I got high marks in a Broadway training school. I overachieved to get over being shy, is what I'm trying to get to the point of. Because I felt as an adult, to become an adult, there were certain things that I needed to face. That I should face my fears to get stronger and become better. I don't think anyone does that anymore. Now we have life hacks and we bypass. And you know what? I get it. I know why. I know why kids do it, and young adults and just people now. We've all disconnected from making an effort. But it's a strange thing to me that people don't want to make that effort. I was shy growing up. I became an adult. I'm in my late 30s now. And now the world is shy and timid and fucking weird. It's awkward. Everyone is so damn awkward. And I know what happened. It's one of those, growing up, like I said, I ran around. I lived a physical experience. We had recess. We had gym class. We had, obviously, sports teams. We also had a neighborhood. And there were kids in the neighborhood. And sometimes we would all get together and we would play sports in the neighborhood. This was just in the 90s. I'm not a kid from the 50s. Like, kids went off and had adventures. Some parents in the 90s were certainly very, no, you stay inside where I can see you so no stranger steals you. But a lot of fucking kids that I knew of, and obviously me, had a free-range childhood. As it's now, the term is coined, free-range childhood. It's so sad that basically for kids now, their life has been taken from them in the physical world and thrown into the digital virtual sphere. And they have to develop there. And I don't think that was intended necessarily for parents and communities, but that's now what's happened. And I've been around long enough to see these people grow up and become timid, frightened adults who struggle in physical environments and are really, they themselves are very sensitive, but they're very timid and they're not used to having to do things in the physical world to excel and get better. That everything has become very cerebral and logic-based and analytical because it's on a digital platform. And you can kind of play around in that sphere, but you don't actually gain strong social aptitudes that you can get better at. Obviously people do. People always find a way past, what's becoming consensus. But a lot of people are fucked in that space. And I feel for them. I really do. The pandemic only further complicated that. If it derailed people's physical experiences. I didn't realize growing up that I was living like the last generation, at least right now, of a very physical childhood and a very physical teenhood. I couldn't wait to get my license. I think it was like a month before my birthday, and I was interested in this girl, and I was like, oh shit, I bet she'd think a lot more of me if I had my license. So I immediately asked my mom, take me to the DMV and I'll get my fucking temporary license and then I'll go through the whole driver's ed bullshit. And in 6 months' time, and literally 6 months to the day that I got my temps, I got my license. And at that point, I was dating this girl and I could, we could go anywhere and there was freedom. But now, the kids don't want to get their license. I don't get that at all. Driving is the most amazing experience in this life, I have found. I've gone on cross-country road trips. I've cruised with friends and girlfriends through time, and it's been fucking amazing. And I wouldn't give that up for anything. And now people don't even try. And the weirdest part is there's this weird consensus that that's normal. That this strange group neuroses has taken over normality. And nobody from a bygone era makes any sense to try to tell people, what the fuck are you doing? This is not better. Now, I'm going to not argue with you and say life before smartphones was infinitely better, because it wasn't necessarily. It was just different. And now it's very different. I feel like we could find the best from both worlds, and that could be the path forward. But right now, it is really fucking weird to just witness a world that is terrified of its shadow everywhere it goes. And I feel for people. I really do. Like I said, I was a really timid, shy kid. And, there are times that I get a little, it's, flashbacks, I suppose. I don't know, just perhaps the pandemic was a form of regression for everyone. But it's now I'm encountering situations where someone's really awkward and they're making me awkward. And that's, that's its own hilarious hurdle to get through. And we're going to do it. We're going to get through it. All of us. I believe that. I am an optimist. This world, if you look around, most people are doom and gloom. The doom forecasters are out every day to tell you how awful today is and how much worse it'll be tomorrow. But you know what? That's too easy. That's too fucking easy. It's life is what you focus on. And if you focus on doom and gloom, expect doom and gloom. And then it's this self-perpetuating thing. And then you're see, I said it would happen, and it did. I would counter, if you were positive and started seeing things through a brighter lens, maybe, just maybe, that would manifest in your experience. And I know that's very la bullshit that a lot of people don't have any time for because everyone's so cynical now. Well, I am not. I have a lot of reason to be cynical. Perhaps that will come out through time. But at the same time, if there's one thing I've noticed a younger generation, suffers from now, is this collective oversharing. And I come to find out things about people I don't know and have no experience with, the most personal, intimate details about them. And I would tell people that are suffering from social anxiety or all kinds of issues, I don't know if that is nothing more than a greater barrier that you're putting up. That you're making yourself inaccessible while trying to make yourself completely accessible. It's because a lot of people want to take advantage, and a lot of people want to show up and not necessarily help, but be parasites and kind of draw a life force off each other. So I try to avoid that, and I would recommend people do the same. Oh, man. It's a hell of an experience, I'll tell you that. I, for one, am looking forward to a day where people aren't so immediately put off by each other, where people aren't so immediately assuming the worst about each other, where people are looking to cleverly somehow work out a social advantage in every situation to put somebody else down, to elevate themselves. That goes for everybody. You know, that ain't a white privilege thing. That's just human nature. People do that, and we parrot each other, and we perform some idealized version that somebody else is performing, and we emulate that. Some people make a lot of money doing that. Many other people just ruin their minds and ruin their lives. And I'm not about that. And I don't promote that, and I don't want anyone to do that. At this point in time, I wasn't so keen on, I'll talk to the internet, and I'll talk to people's smartphones. But that's where everyone is, unfortunately. So just to try to get through and offer anything authentic, off the top of my head, some of this shit I've thought about prior, some of it I've never said before in my life. And maybe there's value in that. I hope so. We'll just see. I don't know if this is, I don't know. But I don't have to know. No matter what, I appreciate anyone that's watching. I appreciate anyone that's living. Because some of this is just noise. A lot of this is just epic noise. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are just living their lives with the people they care about, and their loved ones, and their family, and they're creating families, and they're helping the children best they can. And they don't get so wrapped up in all these things. I mean, I'm talking about this stuff, and this stuff is real. I know it's real, but it's only a facet. It's only a facet of all of us. It's what we're all focusing on, apparently, what's trending, what apparently is the most popular thing. But more often than not, the most popular thing is just the most controversial thing. And we're not all in controversy, living in controversy. So, you know, I honor the people that are just living their fucking lives. I don't have time for this shit. I want to say I don't have time for this shit. But my life has brought me to this shit. And I think I can be of some use within it. Some kind of reconnaissance mission. Jump in, try to be like, hey, I do remember a life before this. And in remembering a life before this, I can tell you, this ain't normal. It's not normal at all. We're all super disconnected. We're all super separated. And too many of us are okay with that. Now, I've joked with myself and a few other people through time that, you know, the introverts won. Now, I have introverted tendencies, so I don't shit on introverts, but introverts aren't the ones we want winning necessarily when it comes to socializing. Wow, don't we all look better at night? Thanks for watching, guys. Share this video, like this video, and press the subscribe button. It is the only way more people become aware of me. This is not my hobby. I'm not doing this because I'm bored. I am taking the world by storm, one sweet view at a time. Check out my Patreon in the link below if you feel like contributing anything. I'll pay you back in perspectives and insights. It's just a matter of time, kids. Tell the world you were there at the beginning. God bless you all.